A couple years down the road, you feel the gravel crunch beneath your feet as you walk along the horseshoe of Terrywood Glen. It's
Yeah.
a Sunday. It's 10:30 in the morning, and you are heading over to your friend's house. You guys are gonna watch some football. You're gonna throw some burgers and dogs on the grill,
Fuck yeah.
smoke some fucking drugs,
Oh,
right? It's just kind of like what your Sundays have turned into. On Sundays, you hang out with your friends, you watch football, you have barbecue, you bring something, whether it's like bag of ice or paper plates or chips or soda or beer or whatever. They don't ask you to do any cooking, but you bring some of the other essentials. And you bring that joyful demeanor.
okay.
So you're heading over to uh Sam and Rhonda's house, right? If you're looking at excuse me, if you're looking at Terrywood Glen from above, it's a big like arc shaped street. You call it the horseshoe.
Yeah.
Then there's several different streets that connect the two posts of the horseshoe together, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So if you're looking at it, your house is at like 11 o'clock, like you're in the very back left, right? Sam and Rhonda, they're on one of the middle streets. Even though like even though you guys all live in Terrywood Glen, the people who live along the horseshoe have a very uh strong opinion about those that live in the middle.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
There are some who live on the horseshoe that would had voted to sort of like secede from the rest of from the middlers as they called them.
Really?
Yeah, there was a guy, his name was Curtis French, and he was like really going door to door to everybody on the shoe. He had a whole presentation drawn up. He was talking about he looked into all the tax records and the median, the median income of the shoe versus the middlers. And, he just wanted a clean break. He made flyers, put them on your car, you know, put them in your mailbox. He has his own print shop. So they were just limitless and in all colors. Curtis's print shop burned down with Curtis inside, and you know, he didn't make it out. So that sort of secession sort of died on the vine.
Wow.
But the scars are still there. So you're going to like one of the middlers, right? You're gonna go to see Sam and Rhonda.
Okay.
Game's on, right? You're walking there, you got a 12 pack of Diet Coke in one hand, and you've got a big stack of like a big bag of like paper plates in the other. And you got a fucking football tucked underneath your arm.
Why?
Because, you and the guys might want to throw the old pigskin around.
Really?
During halftime when all the gals are blabbing on the couch.
Okay.
The fellas can go outside and toss the old hog around.
Oh man. I'd rather just
Whatever.
sit.
You think that, but you're also like, yeah, maybe I'll start it, but then I'll just like have a seat,
Okay.
while your friends toss that fucking pigskin
Yeah.
around the backyard. So you get to Sam and Rhonda's, right? You've been there, you've been to their house like several times, you've known them now for a couple years. So like their house is nothing new to you. You know what it looks like from the inside. Like
Uh-huh.
it's a place that you're familiar with. You spent the previous year's New Year's Eve there, right? Hmm. You came alone, you left alone. But you were there, you were there when the ball dropped at midnight. You looked around for somebody to kiss and there was nobody looking back. So yeah, you've been in their house before.
Okay.
It's a place when you go into their living room, you have a distinct feeling of utter loneliness.
Oh man.
You remember hearing Auld Lang Syne or whatever that song is playing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You look around and you're the only person in the room not locking lips with somebody.
Oof.
You got a little party hat on, it's cutting off the circulation to your head. So yeah, you've been to this house.
Oh,
You walk into Sam and Rhonda's. Rhonda says, Patrick, she gives you a big hug. She gives you a kiss on the cheek. She goes, thank you for the plates and the DC. She grabs the Diet Coke from your hand. She goes, I'll put it in the fridge.
who calls it DC?
Rhonda and Sam. She got it from Sam. Sam comes walking in through the door that leads out to the patio. He goes, hey, DC, good looking out.
Yeah, no problem.
You see Rhonda open her fridge. There's like 7 cases of Diet Coke in there, right? So you guys and you don't notice it right away, but Sam walks over, he gives you a handshake, gives you a hug. He goes, good to see you, brother. He goes, I just got the burgers on the grill. Hope you're hungry. He goes, brother-in-law gave me a mix. They bought a cow. He had a bunch of ground beef made up with some brisket and some of the fat, and he goes,
Whoa, really?
best hamburger I've ever grilled. He goes, you're in for a real treat today. He
Awesome.
takes the tongs, he like clicks them together, and then he pinches the tip of your cock with it.
Oh, man.
You kind of jump back. You go, Sam, and he just laughs, right? It's all in good fun. And then
Oh,
you
those
look,
guys.
you hear like you hear like oh fuck, the pregame show is coming on, and you turn, and Sam has upgraded his television since that last lonely New Year's Eve you spent in his living room.
Okay.
He has like 75, 80-inch television, crystal clear picture. You can practically reach out and touch the grass on the field, right? Big sound system. It sounds rich and full and lots of bass, and it almost shakes your core. It's just loud. And you turn around, you go, Sam, holy shit, when did you get this new setup? He cracks a DC right from the fridge,
Yeah.
and he kind of like steps down into the living room, and he goes, oh, this bad boy. He goes, I picked this up about 3 weeks ago. Just got it installed, a few weeks back. He goes, this is our first gathering with people, now that we got the new setup. And he like looks at you and he goes, nice, isn't it? And you're
Awesome.
like, yeah, it's like really nice. He goes, yeah, man, I got a great deal on it. And you're like,
Sweet.
yeah, and you've been thinking about it, and you're like, when you bought your house in Terrywood Glen, you didn't like you moved like all of your shit in, and you've slowly been upgrading over time, making your house into a more of an adult home.
Yeah.
But you've always like held back on like the home theater element of it. You're like, that's like when it all comes together. And you feel like you're pretty close to like pulling the trigger on something.
Really?
And you kind of look at him and you go, how much did this set you back? And he goes, this whole thing was $4,500. He goes, if you were to part it out, it would retail at over 9 grand. And
Jeez.
he kind of goes through the whole thing with you. It's this top of the line TV. You got this fantastic like receiver, big subwoofer, these like tower speakers, and everything is like wireless. And it's got a remote that's the size of a fucking dinner menu. It's just like this huge thing because it does so much. And he goes, you kind of like, chew on it for a second. He goes, I can get you my buddy's card if you're interested. And you're like, yeah, why not? You know? So you
Really?
guys, huh?
Like, so I have that like a much that amount of money to just spend?
Yeah, yeah, you're doing okay at this point.
Really? From what?
Yeah, yeah, you're doing well enough to like buy yourself a house and uh, like you can afford to like build this thing in your life, your home.
What am I doing?
So
Like
yeah,
for money?
you're working at the Valve still. You had a viral video of yourself that pays like a bunch of money every month. It
Yeah.
was a video of it was a video of one of your friends was like very very pregnant, like 9 months pregnant,
Yeah.
and wanted to make wanted to make a birth announcement video, right? So they basically like had like the girl who you're friends with, her name is Sharon Step over. Sharon was like 9 months pregnant,
Okay.
and so Sharon was like the video is like Sharon laying down. She's wearing like a hospital gown. She's got like the baby bump, and her husband, Dan, is like by her side. And he's like, come on, babe, you got this. And he's like, push, push. And you hear like a wham. And then you hear like a thud. And it cuts to like you like the edge of the table. And it's like you as like a baby, and you're dressed like a little baby,
What?
You're yeah. Well,
Why?
like initially at first you're like covered in like you're like laying on the floor as like a grown man covered in amniotic fluid.
Oh
Isn't
man,
that what it
yeah.
is? Amniotic? Am I right with that? You're covered in the birth
Sure.
juice, and then they dress you up and they put a little bonnet on your head, and
What the fuck?
they put a little diaper on your butt,
Why?
and it's like this whole thing. They were just like, oh yeah, this is our baby, you know,
Oh my God.
and
Why are we doing this?
you they just have a weird sense of humor and wanted to like do the thing, and you were like, yeah, I'll do it. So it like went on like Good Morning America. It like blew up, right? It blew up, and people were just like yeah, like Kelly Ripa was like I don't even know if she's on TV, but she isn't. I mean, at this point in time, a couple years down the road, she has her own TV show, and
What is it?
it's called Rip. It's called Ripa Rips It Up. And it's like she gives like a no nonsense, unfiltered take on like what's going on in pop culture. And they
Really?
show the video, and Kelly Ripa's like, "What the fuck is with this?" They let her curse.
Really?
Oh yeah, she really rips it up, dude. She
Seems
does not
like
hold
it.
back. So it's a thing that like goes viral, and you get like you there's ad revenue for shit. It's just one of those things where like you just come into money because of this thing that you were in.
Okay.
You get a couple like corporate gigs out of it,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Those
It's
can
one of it's
be
one of those
weird.
things that like, yeah, exactly. Somebody saw this thing and liked it and was like, we got to get that baby in here.
Do they make me do the act as the baby?
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh no, come on.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, you gotta show up in a bonnet and a diaper and
Oh
nothing else.
no.
You
How
could have a
much am I getting
pacifier around your neck.
how much am I
That's
getting
about
paid
it.
for this?
Uh, Pepsi hires you to come in and do it. They pay you $45,000 for an hour of your time
Oof.
because the guy who runs Pepsi, his wife loves the video. She's there. He brings her in. It honestly might have saved his marriage. But you
Really?
do it. It's a shitload of money. You're making
Yeah,
like really good
that's
money. What are you gonna do? Turn it down?
yeah. Oh man. I have a price.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And they meet it and then some. So you're making like pretty good money.
Yeah,
So you
doing
you
the
know you're
baby
you're
thing.
at you're at Sam and Rhonda's. Yeah, you're the baby.
Ugh.
Uh, you're at Sam and Rhonda's, right? You watch the game. You have these burgers. Sam was right, dude. There's nothing. I mean, you've never had anything like this. It's just like little scraps from the best parts of the cow that they grind up into ground beef, and that's what they make their hamburgers with. It's fantastic. You halftime comes, you kind of hold that fucking football up in your hand, you go outside now. And all the guys like go outside
Oh
and you're just
man.
throwing the ball around, right?
Okay. That's aggressive.
The sun is like setting, early this time of year, and you and your friends just kind of like hang outside, just bullshitting, telling stories about when you were kids,
Sure. Yeah.
stealing a hamburger that's on the side of the grill, just sitting there, just really enjoying one another's company, like you've been friends forever, right? You go home feeling fulfilled, like you had a great meal, you had a nice little walk home. The team you were rooting for won,
Hell yeah.
and you had a great day filled with friends. You feel fulfilled in all areas. You go inside your house, turn your lights on, you throw your keys down on the table. Your first instinct is to look over the TV, and then you feel that business card in your pocket. You pull it out,
Yeah.
and it's for a guy named Rick Cousy, Cousy,
All right.
and he works at a place called Big Ones, and
Yeah.
okay. So Big Ones is run by this guy who Big Ones Big Ones is this dude who it's this guy. His name is uh, Darren Caliber, and he he used to run like a Hooters style restaurant,
Okay.
right? He was like the founder of like not a Hoover who are you familiar with like Show Me's? No, that would only be in
With
Missouri.
what?
Never mind. He is like the founder of like a lightly national, largely Midwest regional hot wing restaurant, right? Made millions of dollars on it and lost the company in a bitter divorce. But
Jeez.
he uh he said, wings are my job, but television is my passion. So he combined the two and he opened up Big Ones. It is like a restaurant slash electronics emporium, right? And he's like he's like in the commercials and he's like, hey, he goes, I am the founder of uh a restaurant chain you may have heard of called Fatties, and it was just again a Midwest restaurant, and because my bitch of a wife took it all in the divorce,
Oh
but I
no.
won't let her get me down. And he goes, so you guys need to come down to Big Ones. And he goes, what better way to learn if you would like a television than by eating a hot basket of 12 wings tossed in one of our 12 delicious flavors right in front of that television? So that it's like a big like circular building and it's like from like the middle circle is like the dining room and then the outer ring from like 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, like it's like split in half. So the left side of it is like the kitchen and the right side of it is like the electronics part, right? So that you're facing like this wall of televisions and you're just eating these delicious wings. He does it right. You get
Yeah.
free 12 wings with any television purchase, regardless of make, model, or price. No questions asked. And they encourage people. They go sit down, get some wings, look at our televisions. Which ones look right? Which one calls to you?
Yeah. Okay.
And those wings are served by some busty babes. Okay.
I can imagine.
Busty babes,
That's cool.
with their big boobs hanging out
Right.
practically, you know,
Yeah.
and all the guys who are selling televisions, they're just like facing like all these hot ladies all day long. So hmm, there's a lot of like interdepartment romance going on. There are a lot of tawdry tales happening at Big Ones.
I bet this is.
And it's big ones because the screens aren't the only things that are big. And so, there's just like a lot of like honestly, it's doing better as a restaurant than it is like an electronics store, the salesmen are not very focused.
How could they be?
Yeah. So you do go in, right? You go in, you talk to the girl at the counter. She goes, "Are you here for screens or wings?" And you give her the business card, and she goes, "Oh, koozie." She just screams like koozie. And you hear a bunch of guys go koozie, 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 and they're like clapping
What?
along. This
Oh
guy who's
man.
like 45 comes like kind of like running up the carpet, right? And he goes, "What's up, man?" He goes, "My name's Koozie." And he like reaches out and shakes your hand. And you're like, "Yeah, I was given your card by my friend Sam." And he's like, Sam and Rhonda." And he's like, you're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, they were great." He goes, "Yeah, I helped install that system myself. Really nice people." He goes, "You friends with Sam and Rhonda?" You're like, "Yeah, you're like, we all live in the neighborhood." He goes, "Oh, well, good. Then you're a friend of mine."
Yeah.
And he
We all live in
puts an arm
Terrywood
around your
Glen.
shoulder. He goes, "What's that?"
We all live in Terrywood Glen.
He's like, "I know Terrywood Glen very well." He kind of like looks down. He goes, "Maybe a little too well, if you know what I mean." He goes, "Say,
Yeah.
you want some wings?"
I'd love some. Thank you.
He goes, "You strike me as a buffalo, mild kind of guy.
You
Is
nailed
that
it.
right?"
Absolutely. Yep.
He kind of like whistles. He does that whistle where he puts his fingers in his mouth and whistles, and all the girls stop and they look up at him and they go, "Hey, Koozie," right? And he's like, "Would one of
Oh
you ladies
no.
please get my friend Patrick a basket of buffalo mild wings?"
Oh
And he goes,
man.
"The sooner the better." And he winks and they all just giggle and then they sprint to the kitchen, right?
Ah, that was weird. Oh man.
Within like 2 minutes, a piping hot basket of wings comes out, right? They give you a side of ranch, side of blue cheese, both. You're walking around, you're eating these fucking wings, right? You got the basket in one hand, a wing in the other. You get your mouth covered in sauce. You kind of like hesitate for a second. One of the waitresses comes over and towels your face off for you.
Oh wow.
And Kuzi goes, "Thanks, darling." And she goes, "You're welcome." And like smiles at him, you know?
Something is happening in this restaurant.
You get a feeling that Kuzi has no problem with the ladies, right?
Okay. That's just a feeling I have.
That's just a feeling that you have, right?
Okay.
So you walk around, right? Um, you had mentioned, you're married at this point, you had mentioned to your wife that like
Oh,
you would
okay.
talk to her about getting a new TV, and you used to talk to Sam, and Sam had a guy, and she was like, "I don't know, Pat." And you're like, "Look, this is like one of the last things we need to like really make this like our home. Like let's do it. Like this is ours." So she's like, "Fine." She goes, "I'm gonna leave this up to you. I trust you on this. Just be smart about it."
Yeah, I
She
mean,
goes, "Nothing super crazy." And you're like, "I'm of course not."
yeah.
So you kind of figure like you have like a few $1,000s to spend on this, right?
She knows about the
Like you could
restaurant aspect of this.
no, because you really didn't know either.
Oh, okay.
You know, you just kind of like showed up. It just said big ones, and Sam was like, "Yeah, they got big TVs there, man."
A surprise
And he kind of
restaurant.
laughs. Yeah, it was a surprise, but a pleasant one.
Yeah, okay.
So you go in there, right? You're walking around, you got these wings in your hand, you're getting your face toweled off. Koozi's pulling all the strings, right? You're looking at a whole TV home stereo thing, and he manages to like he finds a thing that's like on clearance that was like last year's model, but it looks incredible and it's been discounted a little bit. He's probably got a little more wiggle room in it. He gets you down to like a whole thing and it's like $3,800, right?
Okay.
And he goes, installation could be like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. He goes, and they're gonna charge you to do it. He kind of like looks around over his shoulders. He goes, I've been selling TVs a long time, man. And you can ask Sam and Rhonda about this, but 150 bucks. I'll come over this weekend and I'll hook it up for you myself.
Wow.
He goes, but it's got to be. He goes, it's an under the table thing. It's something that I would only offer to you as a friend of Sam's, who's such a good client of mine.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
So you agree to it?
Yeah.
He goes, great. So he rings you up, right? They set up a delivery date for like 2 days from now. He like manages to get it pushed through. He goes back and sweet talks one of the guys in their receiving department, gets you on the truck for this upcoming Friday, right? As he's like coming
Wow.
back out of like the warehouse, two of the girls are like standing behind you, like watching him walk up, and one of them goes, Lucy's got all the moves, right? Kuzi comes up, he's like, all right, Pat. He goes, I got you hooked up for delivery on Friday afternoon. And he goes, thanks, girls. That's all we need for now. He goes, you can head on over. He goes, I'll talk to you later. And they kind of giggle and walk away. He waits for them to be out of earshot. He goes, and I'll be over on Saturday. I'll hook all this up for you. Like I said, 150 bucks cash. I'll take care of you.
Thanks.
And you're like, great.
I'm glad this guy's on my side.
So you yeah, he is very cool,
Yeah.
right? So you go home, right? You talk to your wife, you're like, you show her the bill, you're like, she's like 3,800 bucks, and she's like, okay, that's a lot of money. She goes, but this is something that we've been like planning for. And she goes, I'm excited to see it. And you go, and the best part is we're gonna have it installed this weekend. She's like, how come so quickly? You're like, well, the guy knew Sam and
Yeah.
he's doing it as like a favor. And he goes, it's 150 bucks, which is less than they were going to charge me to do it. And it was going to take him 3 weeks. And she's like, okay. She goes, if you trust this and Sam's good with it, then like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Fuck yeah.
So, Sam, you call Sam, right? And you're like, hey, and you're like, number one, Kuzi's awesome. And he's like, isn't he great?
Yeah, he's a real
And
character.
you go, you're like, yeah, he even offered to like come install it at my house. He goes, that's what we did. He goes, I wasn't here when it was installed. He said, but Rhonda said he did a great, thorough job. And
Okay.
he's like, I looked over it, and he's like, everything's hooked up perfectly. She's like, Rhonda couldn't have said nicer things about it.
Awesome.
So you're like, okay, cool. He's coming over on Saturday, right? So he's coming over on Saturday, right? Saturday morning, like you get the delivery on Friday, you get everything sort of staged in your living room. You move your furniture out of the way just so that you can just come in and get to work. You try to like set it up as good as you can, right?
Yeah.
And so he comes over Saturday at like 10:30 in the morning. Rings your doorbell, you open it, right? He's like, he goes, Pat, good to see you. Right. And he walks up to your wife and he goes, hey there, my name's Kuzi. And he sticks his hand out and she says, hi, I'm Marla. And he's like, pleasure to meet you, Marla. He goes, I don't know what Pat told you. He goes, but I'll have this thing hooked up here quickly. We're gonna hide all the wires. You won't be able to tell I was here within the next 90 minutes.
Hell yeah.
And he goes, you'll never have to see me again. He goes, unless you want to refer one of your friends. And he kind of laughs and you guys laugh, right? He
Yeah.
walks into your living room and he sees you got everything let out. He goes, nice job, Pat. He goes, thanks for getting this together for me. And your wife, she goes, can I get you something? You want something to drink? And he's like, man, I would just love a Diet Coke. She opens the fridge and she's like, oh, we don't have any. And she looks at you. She goes, Pat, would you mind running out to grab some Diet Coke for Kuzi?
Sure.
He kind of like he's standing in the living room. He starts like unboxing your stuff, and he's like, "Thanks, Pat. I'd really appreciate it."
Sure.
Uh, so you like you leave, right? You go home, or you don't go home. You like leave to go to the store. Kuzi starts like unboxing stuff. He's getting to work. You get in the car, you're gone. Like you go to the store, you get like a 12 pack of Diet Coke. Well, that's all you get. You head back home, you're gone like 20 minutes, you know. You you open the door, right? And you kind of like walk into the living room and you see that like, man, like your boxes were like still like kind of packed. Like nothing's really been unboxed, you know.
Okay.
You're like, what the fuck? You walk in, you put the Diet Coke in the fridge. You go upstairs and you're like, where is everybody? And through the crack in your door, you see your wife playing tonsil hockey with Kuzi himself.
Son of a bitch.
What do you do?
I burst in and started yelling, I think.
You burst in, what do you say?
I don't know. What the fuck is this?
Kuzi he kisses your wife
Oh,
passionately,
jeez.
longingly.
Jesus.
He dips her hair raises the carpet in your marital bedroom.
Oh.
He pulls her back up and he says, Pat, come on, you know? And she looks at you and she goes, Pat, Uzi's got all the moves. And he
What?
dips her again and kisses her right in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like, kind of like step up towards him, you like try to separate the two of them. He pushes at you, you push at him, and you guys get in like a full blown tussle right in the middle of like your bedroom, you know?
Jeez.
He like jumps back, he like jumps up on your bed, and then you like jump up on your bed, and you guys are like jumping on the bed together, like wrestling. He ends up like wrestling and catching you and like pinning you to the bed, and he presses his torso up against yours,
Yeah.
and he leans in close and he whispers in your ear. He said, "You knew I was a snake when you let me in." And
What?
then he bites a chunk out of your neck and you
Oh
bleed out in
no.
your bed. You bleed out right there. He bites through an artery and your hot blood sprays all over the wall. And there's like a
No.
big picture of you and your wife and overlooking like this scenic vista on the
Yeah.
day of your wedding, surrounded by your family and friends, your whole kind of party, and your blood like sprays in an arc and it only hits on the painting where there is somebody standing present. It's just like a perfect arc.
Oh man.
You bleed out right there. Your wife screams and tries to run away, and the last thing you hear is just him. You just hear people like tumbling down the stairwell, and then you bleed out right in your bed.
Damn it. Lucy, you absolute son of a bitch. You ruined everything.
Yeah. Sam, so Sam and Charlotte find out, and they find out what happens, right? Because your wife ends up surviving, and
Yeah.
Kuzi gets shot by the police and he
Oh
falls
my
into your
God.
bloodbath and fills it up, right? Uh
Jeez.
a bird never drinks from it or bathes in it ever again, right? So Sam and Charlotte find out what happened and they find out about the kissing. And Sam
Huh.
like turns to Charlotte and he kind of like looks at her and he
Yeah.
says, "You got something you want to tell me?" But you're fucking dead. You're dead and Kuzi is dead too.
Oh man. Fine. Good. I'm glad we
Yeah.
both died.
He had impregnated 2/3 of the staff at Big Ones.
Lucy, buddy, you can't do that. It's an HR nightmare.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Oh, Kuzi.
he was probably on his way out because of it. And
He
he knew
couldn't.
it.
I mean,
But some temptations are too hard to break.
I guess so. Son of a bitch. Well, fuck him.
Yeah.
Fuck you too.